This is a recording of the annual Friendship Dinner of the 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association, held on November 26, 1963, Stoppers, in the Hawk Room. Mrs. Gladys Garland, President of the District Association, presided. Ms. Frances Hammett, Chairman of the Program Committee, presented the program and the concluding remarks. The Lord's Prayer by Miss Luann Garland, who was accompanied by Miss Kathy Boyd, and the benediction rendered by Miss Betty Jean Hamlin was the solo, The Holy City. Mr. Dennis Mahaffey rendered dinner music. Dr. J. Elliott Scarber, Director of the Emory University Clinic, was the guest speaker. The recording is made on one side only, and time should be allowed before the first voice is heard, that being of Dr. Scarber, having just been introduced the speaker's table by Miss Hammett. On this side of the tape only. There is no recording on the receiver.
I know Mr. Charles he could have written that too, because it's easy because he understands it, and it's easy to associate those things for which the outdoorsman is thankful with Thanksgiving. We sort of think of Thanksgiving as a festive time, yet the time that we count our blessings and sort of take stock of what has come good our way. We've always at our house tried to have someone who couldn't go to somebody else's, that couldn't go to his own house. I remember we had a Korean, suppose I could tell this, who had come to Emory Hospital, and he was a nice fellow, except he couldn't speak very much English. And I told him we were going to have late dinner, but I knew that he never had a Thanksgiving dinner in this country, so I told him the time I would go get him, about 2 o'clock, and so I went over after him. I couldn't hardly find him, but finally I found him asleep. And he quickly apologized and dressed, came out, and I had warned him specifically not to go to dinner over at Emory, because I knew they were going to have a big dinner there and to wait till they came to my house, but he didn't understand the English, so he went anyhow, but he wouldn't let me know it. So I took him home, and we'd been, after his having the dress and everything, we had been waiting. By that time, Isabel had to stand up a little bit, and dinner was cold. You know, when you couldn't take it dinner and it gets cold, you know how you feel about it. And she does all of that. She cooks bottle washing, washing and ironing. And nobody but a nurse would do that much for you. So we took this Korean doctor in and sat him down immediately, and as usual I helped all the plates, and he was a very wonderful, fine fellow, and I could talk to him a little bit. So he ate, and when he ate, every time he would reach over, he'd say, showing that the food was just so hot he couldn't hardly get it in his mouth. It was just so hot and it was cold as ice. being a gentleman. And he carried on that and ate every piece on his plate, and by that time I found out he just had dinner at Emory. So all the children passed the plates back, and I helped them again, and I said, well now, Dr. So-and-so, you don't have to have any more, but I know you've had your dinner, but I'm so glad you're with us. And, oh yes. So I filled him up again. We went through all of that again. Then we had mince pie with American cheese on it. He ate that. And to cap the climax, and I understand this is acceptable in Oriental circles, he says, I thought our children would fall off the chair. It was a terrible situation, and we couldn't stop laughing. But it was time to dismiss class anyhow, so we went to another room and started taking pictures or something. But this fellow had never been in an American home where we'd celebrated Thanksgiving, and he later told me that they didn't do it like this. So this is an American institution, and one that we are thankful for. And I think that the people in this country will go into this Thanksgiving with more real ability to appraise the things that we are thankful for, the things that we have in this country that perhaps they don't have in other countries. And I think the thing that has done it is a love that we have been brought to realize that is in our hearts and the source from which it comes. Now, we think of something else at Thanksgiving time. We think about the people that don't have. And where are those people? Way off somewhere? In some other country? Some other world? Yes, they are there. And our country has been trying to help them. Some of us think maybe too much, because the best way to help people is to help them to help themselves. And sometimes we haven't done that. We've done all the helping, and they haven't helped themselves. But that's all right. There are people right here in our own town that don't have a bottle of milk, that have a number of children and don't have sheets to sleep on. It's almost unbelievable. And I remember we used to try to carry baskets for some of those people at Thanksgiving time. There's a lot of want in the world that I don't think any amount of plenty can overcome and supply. We can't take our wheat and distribute it all around to the various hungry mouths in the world in this country. But I think that we must keep our wheat when there are sources through which we can give it to the have-not, or sell it to the have-not countries. Let them have it best they can, and I think our country is doing some of that, I'm glad to say. Because it should choke us to think that there is want and there is a world of plenty. The 23rd Psalm begins, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." There are so many things that we want, that we need. Specifically, there are things that we doctors and nurses know that people want and need, for which we work. And I believe in our privileged situation, the one thing that we are able to help more than anything else is probably pain that people have. We are the ones that are commissioned to help pain. And I've said to some of you, my nurse friends, that if it was possible for us to figure out what good we do most, I believe we'd have to say it would be in relieving physical pain. Now, there are other ways that doctors and nurses are able to serve, both spiritual, physical, mental, and I think that we do it. The only thing is, we don't do it as well as we could do it. So at this time of year, we think, how could we do it better? So I've written down a few things for which we are thankful as doctors and nurses. And I would like to list them to you. We are thankful for the privilege to serve, and it is a privilege. We are in a different category from people who work in stores, and yet they serve. You can serve anywhere. But ours is a different category. Different from the man that figures up the income tax. Different from the man that works in the garage. We have an opportunity to serve people, human beings that are suffering, and that's why it is a privileged opportunity. Society gives that to us. None of us pay for our education. We are pawns of society to that extent. Certainly we doctors, we cost about $4,000 or $5,000 per year per student, pay about $1,000. Somebody has to raise the difference. And the same is true of nurses to a certain extent. And our aim and objectives are just the same. We're thankful for hospitals and infirmaries. And I point out to you that they're better than they've ever been. Some of us, 25 years ago, knew good hospitals, but not very many. Now we know a lot of good hospitals and a lot of good infirmaries. The places to take care of the sick are improved, and for that we are thankful. All over the state, the hospital care is more uniform. All over the country, it's more uniform than it ever has been before, simply because our hospital situation has been improved. It's inadequate yet in some areas. There's still a tight push for beds in many areas, but that will be improved as time goes on. It's certainly improved as we look back. For clinics and offices, our clinics, our over the country, and our offices, our groups of people working together, and even our private offices are run better. And some of you, many of you work in them. For diagnostic and treatment facilities, diagnostic and treatment facilities are better than they've ever been in this country and more uniform. And for those, we are certainly thankful. For the public health service system that's over this country, which is uniform and has to do with taking care of large populations, vaccinations, protection, preventive medicine that is practiced through the public health system. For that, we as doctors and nurses are certainly most thankful. For the schools of nursing and medicine, we've had a change in our nursing schools, and I say this regretfully to some extent, and I don't mean to get into the argument, which is about a three-sided argument. That has to do with the hospital nursing schools, not buses, but in addition to the degree programs in the colleges. And I'm certain that we need them both. We just need not to close in the nursing schools, we need to increase our facilities, in my opinion. And I got a little insight into this problem when I was on the nursing committee for the state several years ago. And I know we can turn out more nurses, and we can interest more schools, perhaps the 2-year schools, to get interested more in the nursing program. We've got to have more. I think Georgia has less than 200 nurses for 100,000 population. Anybody know about that? And we should have about 300 nurses. We've got to increase the numbers. We've got to increase the quality of our nurses. So we're thankful for the increase that is taking place, but it's got to be improved. We're thankful for the new and improved drugs with which we deal. You can think, I can think of people in our own professional experiences who have died because we didn't have one of the drugs such as the antibiotics. Just a few days ago, we were talking about a very outstanding Atlantan who was operated on and died in this town that wouldn't have died since I've come to Atlanta because of the new and improved drugs we have. And that's just to mention one of the various drugs that are at hand that we've been blessed with. These are our Thanksgiving. We're thankful for good communication, transportation, and telephones. The horse and buggy doctor used to keep his horse hitched out in front of his drugstore so that he could get in him and just fly just to wherever he was going. And when he got there, he didn't have much to do anything with. He didn't have any blood to give the man. He hadn't been trained to do modern surgical procedures. With good transportation, good telephone system, good communication, patients can be brought up to 50 miles in extremis and brought to hospitals and centers where they can be taken care of. For those, we as a profession of nurses and doctors are thankful. It makes our work easier. It makes it harder too. It gives us more responsibility, which we accept. And that's why we want to improve our nursing quality, our doctor quality. We're thankful for better home care. Care of sick patients in the home is better, not only because we have organized home nursing services in some of the metropolitan areas, and to some slight extent in some of the rural areas, but also because of the facilities in the home that are good enough with which to take care of sick patients. And that's the reason the care of the sick is changing. We don't care for the sick in institutions as much as we used to. The average stay in the hospital now is around 8 days. Honey was operated on when I was an intern and was kept in the hospital 3 weeks. Died on his back. And we're thankful for that. We're thankful for all the things in life that make the coming and the stay and the going more beautiful and less painful. We're thankful for our Lord, for ever present help in time of trouble, to whom we can always go. Now, specifically, I would like to take up, I hope I'm not talking too long, because I can talk any given length of time, since I think that relief of pain is the warmth and relief of people that are suffering, whether they're suffering, however they're suffering, mentally, spiritually, or physically, is our real charge in life. I would like to be a little more specific as to the types of suffering that we are called on to administer. There are the people who have transitory pain. Some of these are more or less in passing, that have to do with an operation, an accident. And then when we relieve them, or when they get better and go on and forget their pain, and people do forget pain. If they didn't forget pain, we'd be in a bad shape. But there are people who have that kind of pain and lose limbs, lose major organs, eyes, get disfigured. Those people we have to work with too. Pain there is a spiritual thing, a mental thing, and doctors and nurses have to put their shoulder to the wheel to help that kind of patient pass the physical pain that they're called on to administer to. And we can help them, we do help them. Sometimes we can show somebody that's lost an arm that they can do a better job almost if they just had one arm. I remember talking to one patient I had recently, a doctor, that we had to take his arm off of him, and I told him about the baseball player that played center field. And he caught the ball in center field, he threw the ball up, he threw the glove off his hand, he caught the ball back and threw the man out at home plate. And he did it a lot of times, and it just showed, and he got amused at it more than he was pleased by it. So every time I see him after that, he tells me about he's almost ready to catch the ball, throw the glove off, throw the man out at home plate. So people who do have disfigurements and loss of limbs are sometimes encouraged to do more than some of us do with too often. Chronic illness is another area that we've got to, that we have a chance to serve. People who are in institutions with something like tuberculosis, for example. Now, these people are usually pretty optimistic kind of people. Some of us might be able to say that we've never seen a patient with tuberculosis that wasn't optimistic. And the reason for that is because of the nurses and the doctors with whom he works. They have led him to be optimistic, in my opinion. And it's a great field for service. There are people who have extended illnesses, people with cancer. Now we know that only about half the people we treat, maybe 40% of the people we treat, that's close, right, are going to be cured of cancer. And the other 60% are not. But we've got to take care of them just like we do the 40%. We don't know which ones we're going to cure. We can prognosticate as far as a group of them are concerned, but we don't know which ones we're going to cure. And many times they have extended illnesses even before they get well. The problem of what to tell the cancer patient is always an open one, and I say it cannot be handled the same way in all patients. In the main, we know to be honest with the patient, to tell the patient the truth, but how the doctor and the nurse team up to do this together is the important thing. It's not what you say to the patient, as all of us know, us doctors, us nurses know. It's what we say with our personalities and how we act around them. There are some people who will tell you, and I happen to know more about this than any other kind of care, that they don't want to be told. I know a lady right now who has been well 7 years, who had a metastasis, an extension of the cancer, and she said that she and her husband were so in love, they didn't want to be told. They didn't want to be told whether it was bad, good, or anything. Just go ahead and do what was necessary for them to do, and let them go on and live their life as they had been. And I never have told her, but she knows just as good as anything what she had. We tell them that with our personalities and how we manage them and how they handle them. Now you can go to some patients and just say right straight up in their face, you've got cancer and you're going to die. And they'll look at you and they'll hear you and they hear you say it, but they don't believe it. But the way we tell them the truth is to tell them so that they will know that we have compassion, that we have interest, we have love for them from our hearts, and you don't have any trouble telling patients the truth. Another area that I'm called on to, you and I are called on to deal with, ministers who come and assist us in the care of patients. I've never had any trouble in my life with ministers upsetting patients, as I have had my minister friend tell me that he was accused of. I had a curious thing happen one afternoon. It was sort of funny because I had operated on this lady and she was obviously mean. She had a lovely daughter, and she was determined to do something for her mother, and I know exactly where she comes from, and I could call the town and everything, although it's been 8 or 10 years ago. And I operated on her. I went back to see her about 5 or 6 o'clock. Just as I got off the elevator, her son introduced himself to me that I hadn't met, and then he introduced to the minister. So I said, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you." Well, she'd been a little rough on us that day and rough on the nurses. They had told me about it. And so I grabbed this man right by the arm and I took him in the room and I said, I didn't say anything much, and he walked over and, being a Baptist, he immediately started praying. And he said a beautiful prayer. And then he walked out. And I said, "Now, weren't you glad that I found him? And that he came to see you?" She looked up at me and said, "Who was that?" This was her son's minister. It wasn't her minister. I thought it was her minister. She never had seen the man before. I was acting a little bit quick on the trigger, and I thought I had something to soften up a little bit, but I didn't have it. It didn't work. You have to do things on the spur of the moment, doctors and nurses do. And they have to be right. Sometimes they're wrong, and nobody knows any better than we do that they're wrong. Sunday afternoon I had a telephone call. I really didn't treat a patient a while ago when I went out to that telephone call. It was another problem that has to do with medicine, though. I had a telephone call from a sister of a girl that had cancer and who was having a lot of trouble, and she's a marvelous little woman. She works in a mill, but she's up in northern part of Georgia, but she's got more strength of character and fortitude than anybody I've nearly ever seen. Her right arm is paralyzed. She's having pain. She's going to a doctor that I know. Said her pain wasn't any better, and she just had to do something right now. And I said, well, I'll try to see if I can get you a bed, but I don't know any more that we can do than the doctor's doing right there. I said, just tell her that we're going to do everything we can do for her. That our doctor's a good doctor. He's giving her the right drug. And you tell her I'm thinking about it, and I'll get her down here. And you call me again in 2 hours if you want to get her down here. I didn't hear from her. I got the room. I got to worrying about her today, so I thought I'd call a doctor. And he sort of acted a little distant. And I said, haven't you seen her since Sunday? He said, no, haven't heard a thing from her. I said, well, that's just the way patients do. She's got another doctor. I guess I'll try to call her. So I finally got a hold of her, got a hold of her sister. She said, no, we haven't been back to the doctor. Says, after I went back and told her what you said, and I didn't know exactly what I said. Matter of fact, I was annoyed. I didn't let her know it. And that's something we can't let patients know. We doctors and nurses. You get terribly annoyed sometimes, but don't you dare let them know it. Don't you get mad. If you get mad, don't you dare let them know it. Because that's the way they get the best of you. I never have gotten mad at a patient and let him know it. And I said, well, what doctor did she go to? Where did she go or something? She says, she hadn't been any other doctor. The doctor says, since I told her what you said, says she got easy, and she's been easy ever since. And says she didn't need to go back to see the doctor. Now, some of you non-nurses and non-doctors, you don't understand that. But we understand that, and that's what happens. This is a great profession we are members of, but it's a privileged profession. And that's something that we must never forget. There's another point that comes up in the caring for patients, and I never have yet figured out exactly how to handle it. And that is when we have a patient that we know is in bad shape physically, and they are not Christians. I think it's a very ticklish thing, but it's something that we ought to bring to their minds, and we can do it. We doctors and nurses working together, and we have done it, and we do it. So many people are just waiting to be asked. I know an 87-year-old man right now with whom I've talked about this matter within the last month. And he's a fine man, and he had a bad cancer, and he's well, but he's getting old, and he's not going to keep on living forever. And he never had joined the church because the preacher got up every Sunday and talked about drinking. And he was a fellow that liked to take a little nip about 4 o'clock every morning. And he said he wasn't going to that church anymore because every time he went down there, the preacher started preaching at him. And that's the reason he gave for not ever joining the church. And I talked to him about it. Talked to his preacher about it. I wrote him a note at least. I didn't know his preaching. And I understand that this fellow was really a Christian at heart. He just never had identified himself with the church. This is something we have to do very carefully, very kindly, and be able to never get in a position you can't back out of, because sometimes you have to do that. I might say the mean woman that I told you the story about, she became a Christian also later on. There's another thing we have to do with patients who have long drawn-out illnesses, and that has to do with wills and deeds and business matters. Sometimes they'll tell a nurse about some of their problems who comes close to them when they won't tell anybody else. And there again, it's a ticklish matter. And I don't think that those sort of things ought to ever be forced on a patient who is an extremist, who is might be emotionally upset about it. And yet we as doctors and nurses have a responsibility to that kind of patient, because he's going through torment because he hadn't done something the way he wanted to do it, perhaps. There are many other areas in which we are called on to serve patients who are sick. I couldn't begin to list them, but these are the areas where people that we serve are wanting. They are needing us, needing you, and needing me. Areas that we should think about at times of Thanksgiving, when we are thinking about the plenty that all of us have. Now, I would like to close these rambling remarks with a little statement that all of us are familiar with from St. Francis of Assisi, which says, "Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. And where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Divine Master, grant that I may not so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life." Thank you very much.
Dr. Sargent, I'm sure I speak the sentiment of every person here when I express to you our very deep appreciation for this beautiful talk that bears to each of our minds that there is want in the heart of every man, and we have the privilege to share with him that his needs may be met. I would that each of us, as we return to our vocational endeavors, would attempt to share this great message of thanksgiving to our students and to our associates, our friends, and exemplify the spirit of it in our homes. I feel that all of you will wish to greet our speaker, his lovely wife, Mrs. Scarborough, the officers of your 5th District, and those who have so beautifully served us with their lovely music this evening, and the one that we will hear with our last number, that I would like for you to bear with us and permit them to leave first, and in that we were not able to share in a receiving line as we came in, if they would take their places on the right, to my right, on the outside. I would like for our lovely hostess to assist you with your wraps. Remember, there are umbrellas and lots of wraps that must be accounted for, and our space is small. And if Mrs. Dixon, Miss Reed, Miss John, and maybe another person or so would share with attempting to help every person with their clothes. As we close our section for today, our prayer of benediction is a prayer of great dedication and great beauty. We would like for our artist to move toward the piano. They're seated a little distance away. Through the dinner hour, we have been privileged to have Mr. Dennis Mahaffey to furnish to us these beautiful pieces. We've been conscious of them, and we're extremely thankful. Luann's prayer of thanksgiving as she opened our session, we're grateful. And now I wish to present to you the Holy City as presented by Miss Betty Jean Hamlin. Miss Hamlin is to be accompanied by the two young ladies that performed for us earlier, Luann and Kathy Boyd. This will be our prayer at the close, our prayer of benediction.
Beside the temple there.
express my real appreciation because these are home talent people. As you recall, our speaker is the husband of a nurse. Our tennis throughout the dinner hour is the husband of a nurse. Luann is the daughter of our president. Kathy is Luann's friend. And Betty Jean Hanlon is Mrs. Elizabeth Dixon's niece. Jean is a Westland student, and Luann is Emory student. So we have added blessings with our talent of home people. Our speaker's desk will move out. Our hostess will help us with our clothes. Good evening. Wonderful, happy season to each of you.